Welcome back. I'm Neil Chase, author of Iron Dogs and writer-director of the upcoming action horror movie Contamination. And today we're looking at a villain archetype that's as old as firelight stories around a cave, and still terrifying to this day. Of course, I'm talking about the Beast. Now, this isn't just a mastermind with a monologue or a henchman looking for a big score. This is a pure threat. Claws, teeth, speed, hunger. The Beast doesn't want to talk. It wants to tear your protagonist apart. And that's exactly what makes it so effective. So let's break down what makes this archetype tick, what it is, why we love it, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and how to use it in your own stories. So grab your popcorn, let's get started. First things first, an archetype is a recurring character pattern that taps into something universal, something audiences instinctively recognize across books, movies, myths, and culture. From heroes and mentors to monsters and masterminds, archetypes give us a starting point. But the real power comes when we tweak and transform them to create something new. Now, hero archetypes evolve. They struggle and grow. But villains? They double down. They resist change. They don't overcome flaws, they become them. And that's especially true of the Beast. Because this archetype isn't about personal growth or inner conflict. The Beast exists to kill, to protect, or to survive. That's it. And that's what makes it so primal and powerful. The Beast is a living creature, often monstrous, often terrifying, and it presents a clear physical threat to the protagonist. It's not a metaphor, it's a real danger. It wants to eat, to destroy, to dominate, or to defend itself and its young. It doesn't have to be evil, though many are, but it is deadly. The Beast is defined by its predatory instinct. It hunts, stalks, waits with deadly intent. It often possesses either unnatural power or great numbers, moving faster, hitting harder, or outsmarting its prey with terrifying ease. Morality doesn't apply here. It doesn't kill out of malice, but because it must. Survival is its only code. Whether it's awakened, summoned, or accidentally unleashed, the Beast is a force set loose, and it almost always controls its environment. Whether that's a jungle, a desert, the open sea, or even the shadows. It can be a single, nearly unstoppable monster that hits you head on, or a swarm of smaller creatures that attacks from all sides. And unlike natural disasters, the Beast has intent. It's not a wave or a wildfire. It sees you, and it wants you gone. And that's why audiences are drawn to this archetype. It speaks to something deep in our bones. The fear of being hunted, the fear of nature turning on us, the fear of the unknown in the dark. It's directly wired to that part of our caveman brain that still exists to this day. Ever since we huddled in caves for fear of predators lurking in the darkness outside, or poisonous spiders or snakes hiding in plain sight. That kind of danger has never really gone away. And unlike many other kinds of fictional villains, it's very much rooted in reality. Beast villains create immediate, high-stakes tension. They don't negotiate, they don't give warnings, and the fight isn't fair. Your character either outsmarts it or dies trying. And audiences love watching how people react under that kind of primal threat. Who breaks? Who rises? Who sacrifices themselves to save the others? And this leads me to some big strengths for this archetype. First, there's the instant conflict. You don't need to spend pages of dialogue or setup to explain why the Beast is dangerous. Just drop it into a story and you don't need to explain much. It's dangerous. It's hunting. The stakes are life and death. That's your plot. A great example of this is the shark in Jaws. The story wastes no time. It shows up, it kills, and it forces an entire town to face what they'd rather ignore. That first attack sets the tone, and every scene after is packed with dread, even when the shark's not there. The town's denial only makes it worse, because we already know what's coming. Next is tension through isolation. Beast stories thrive when the characters are cut off from help. An island, a spaceship, a jungle with no escape. The more claustrophobic, foreign, or inescapable the location, the higher the stakes. Isolation cranks up the pressure and gives the Beast the upper hand every time. Is there a better example of this than the xenomorph in Alien? A perfect predator loose in a claustrophobic spaceship. With nowhere to run and no outside help, Ripley and the crew are forced to survive on their own terms. The fear isn't just of the creature, It's the inability to get away. Let's face it, the Nostromo is less of a ship and more of a steel coffin in space. And there's also their terrifying design. The beast is a visual monster. Its very design tells us what kind of threat it is. Stealthy, grotesque, massive, lightning fast. The look, movement, and sounds all add to the horror. It sticks in our minds and immediately sets the tone for the story, especially when the writer considers how it kills, how it stalks, and how it's revealed. Look at the kaiju in Pacific Rim. These monsters are colossal, beautifully grotesque, and yet terrifying, like a natural disaster with teeth. And even though some are only on screen for a short time, each one has a distinct personality, a style, and a way of moving that makes them feel unique and memorable. And the fact that they only get bigger and more dangerous as the story progresses, well, that's the cherry on top. And finally, there's their symbolic weight. The beast often represents something deeper: greed, grief, nature's revenge, war, trauma, even guilt, without ever saying a word. Its very presence is enough to let the audience know that there's a price to be paid for some kind of transgression or injustice. More often than not, the beast just wants to be left alone, but man's hubris is what unleashes it upon the world. Just look at Moder in The Ritual. Moder isn't just a creature straight out of Norse mythology. It's a manifestation of the human character's inner torment, fear, and survivor's guilt. It's a monster, yes, but it's tied directly to the emotional journey of the protagonist. It works on both a surface level as a clear and present danger, but also on a subtextual level as a dark reflection of the main characters themselves. But as powerful as the beast is, it does have some major weaknesses. The first is instinct over strategy. The beast may be powerful and relentless, but it often lacks true intelligence. It reacts based on instinct, hunger, territory, defense, which makes it vulnerable to traps, misdirection, or even a clever protagonist who learns how to exploit those patterns. A great example is the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. It's terrifying in size and strength, but not its cunning. The characters survive not by overpowering it, but by outsmarting it, staying still, using distraction, and luring it into fights with other dangerous predators. Next is their limited depth. If your beast only shows up to kill people and has no clear reason for existing or behaving the way it does, well, the audience can lose interest quickly. It becomes a one-note plot device instead of a real threat. Even a little motivation, territory, hunger, revenge, adds weight to its character, and to that of your protagonists in trying to survive it. Just look at the snake in Anaconda. It's a big python. It eats people. That's about it. There's no mystery, no motivation, and no real sense of escalation. It doesn't force the characters to learn anything about themselves. It feels like a theme park ride instead of a story. And as a result, the thrill fades fast because there's no deeper hook beyond the superficial. Then there's their predictability. Once the initial shock wears off after it first strikes, the beast can sometimes risk becoming predictable. If your beast keeps attacking the same way every time, it stops being scary and starts being routine. Audiences crave unpredictability. Having the beast adapt, escalate its attacks, change its location, attack strategy, or target. Otherwise, it can become stale. For example, look at the giant crocodile in Lake Placid. It's big and it eats things. After a few attacks, the formula becomes obvious. Show up, someone dies, end scene. Now don't get me wrong, it's a fun movie, but that's mostly due to the human characters. The crocodile itself is pretty flat. There's no shift in tactics, no escalation, just rinse and repeat. And finally, there's the fear of overuse or overshowing. The more time you spend showing the monster clearly, especially too early, the less scary it becomes. Horror lives in the shadows, and fear of the unknown is almost always worse than what you can see. A prime example of this is the zombies in The Walking Dead. We see them so often the undead stop being mysterious and become just mobile meat grinders. Yes, their relentless nature and unending hunger is what makes them so scary at first, but the tension surrounding them disappears after a while due to overexposure, and it's the human villains who eventually completely overshadow them. And here are some more iconic examples of the beast archetype that defines the tone, pace, and theme of their stories. The whale in Moby Dick, The white whale isn't just a deadly animal. It's a symbol of obsession, revenge, and man versus nature. It acts on instinct, but Captain Ahab turns it into a mythic force, proving how the beast can be as much about what the characters project onto it as what it really is. The wolves in the gray. The wolves aren't just a physical threat. They represent death, inevitability, and the fight to keep going when survival seems pointless. Their stalking behavior, environmental dominance, and relentless pursuit are pure beast archetype traits. The graboids and tremors. These underground monsters are clever evolving predators that force the characters to adapt their thinking to survive. They embody the beast's primal threat and turn the desert setting into a minefield, highlighting how the environment can become the monster's ally. Clover in Cloverfield. Clover is a city-flattening force of chaos, a creature the characters never fully understand. Its presence is constant, massive, and impersonal, reminding us how the beast doesn't need a motive to be terrifying, it just needs to be unstoppable and completely out of scale with humanity. The spiders in Arachnophobia. The spiders turn the everyday into the deadly. They're not oversized or supernatural, they're just everywhere, hiding in shoes, toilets, basements. It's a great example of how the beast can weaponize familiarity, turning comfort zones into hunting grounds. The dragons in Game of Thrones. From symbols of power to instruments of mass destruction, the dragons in Game of Thrones evolve from pets to weapons to uncontrollable forces. By the final seasons, they stop being majestic and become terrifying again, especially Drogon, highlighting how even tamed beasts can never be fully controlled. The creatures in The Mist. These monsters range from insect-like to god-sized, but what makes them powerful is how they fuel paranoia and collapse within the human survivors. Their designs are horrifying, but their greatest function is to expose the monsters inside the people, which is classic beast plus psychological horror. King Ghidorah in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Ghidorah isn't just a beast, he's an apex predator from another world. He doesn't coexist with nature, he rewrites it. With 3 heads, regeneration, and the ability to command storms, he's a cosmic level beast, one that redefines the food chain and challenges even Godzilla's throne. The beast is one of the oldest villain archetypes we have, and that's what makes it so powerful, but also risky, because we've seen it before. The giant lizard, the killer snake, the alien predator with glowing eyes. But when the beast is done well, when it's more than just a mindless monster, when it's a force that reflects your audience's fears, pushes your characters to their limits, and refuses to be ignored, well, then it becomes iconic. So how do you take this classic archetype and make it stand out in a genre packed with xenomorphs, T-Rexes, and sea-dwelling nightmares? Well, here are 3 ways to write a beast your audience won't forget. First, give it intent. Even if it doesn't speak, your beast should have an internal logic. Maybe it's protecting its young, defending a territory, reacting to trauma, or adapting to human interference. Purpose gives it weight. The bear in The Revenant wasn't evil. It was just doing what bears do. But that purpose made the scene unforgettable. Then, make it personal. The best beasts don't just chase characters, they challenge them. Force your protagonist to face something internal as well as external. Maybe the monster's tied to a past trauma, a guilt they carry, or a lie they told. The Babadook isn't just a creature in a book, it's grief manifested. The mother isn't just fighting a monster, she's fighting herself. And finally, reinvent the rules. We've seen giant spiders, we've seen deep-sea creatures, but what's your twist? Maybe your beast hunts through sound like in A Quiet Place. Maybe it mimics friends like The Thing. Maybe it's terrifying not because of how it kills, but why. The Thing uses shapeshifting to create mistrust, not just gore. So the horror is psychological and physical. At its best, the beast isn't just a body count machine. It's a test, a mirror, a symbol, a story engine. Use it to strip your characters down to who they really are. And when the monster strikes, make sure your audience feels every heartbeat of it. Because when done right, the beast doesn't just haunt your characters, it haunts the audience long after the story ends. But hey, these are just my 2 cents. Give me yours. Let me know in the comments below which movie beast is your favorite and why. And if you're working on a beast of your own, share it with me. I'd love to hear what you're building. And if you've enjoyed this breakdown, check out my videos on The Equal, The Machine, or The Fanatic. Or grab a copy of my novel Iron Dogs, or stream Spin the Wheel on Tubi to see some of my villains in action. And as always, if you're looking for help with your own story, contact me on my webpage, neilchasefilm.com, through the link below. I've helped writers, filmmakers, and producers improve their stories and scripts, especially when it comes to characters, dialogue, and action. And if you'd like more unique storytelling tips to take your fiction to the next level, click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with the latest content. Until next time, stay creative.